Ladies and gentlemen, Pronago is bringing you a very interesting and exciting matchup. In the bottom left, we have SmrtyCakes as Terran, and in the top right, we have Hupsaiya as Protoss. He is, of course, Tyrian purple. And SmrtyCakes down here in the bottom left looks to me like he is neon blue? Palatinate blue. Okay, all right, we'll remember that color never. Fulcrum start for Smarty, but look at this, Hupsaiya back in action and on a Shambler map. Soulblight is the map name here today. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let me quickly check here. I think this is a Monday upload, so happy Monday. And if it's not a Monday upload, that's even funnier. But still happy Monday. Hope you guys are having a good one. Good start to the week. I mean, when you're talking about Hupsaiya Gaming and Cosmonarchy, I'm a little bit late to the pump on this one because I had so many videos scheduled out in advance, but I mean, that's the life of a busy YouTuber. You just got to schedule them. By the way, I think we're going to be having a couple of updates on the upload schedule, but I will confirm that probably in early December. I guess technically it'll be early December when you're watching this, but you guys know what I mean. You guys know what's up. Watch the posts section and check us out on oh yeah, we have a merch shop now. Can you believe that? Check us out, store.cosmonarchy.com. If you want to buy some merch. Profits are pretty slim for us, but you get some stuff. So it's pretty good, you know. It's pretty awesome, and it's just pretty surreal to have like Cosmonarchy stuff going on, Cosmonarchy merch in general. So shout that out. I'll start putting it in the links probably in the description box and all of that. I gotta add some stuff to my Twitch channel. Oh man, oh, suffering from success, DJ Khaled. However, back to this game, back to this very epic matchup. SmrtyCakes hasn't played Terran since Acropolis 3, where he was able to qualify over the Night Fox and. You know, eventually the Night Fox did qualify in the lower bracket, but that gave Smarty the better seed. It allowed him to play a group full of Shopkeeper Dog and Nebline, which I'm sure, you know, he's like, wait, couldn't I have just lost instead? But he actually took Nebline kind of close with a Cyclops spam game, and he played Bio game versus Shopkeeper Dog. I thought that was pretty good, pretty cool. Now he's going to find Hupsaiya's Legionnaire and sort of dance around there a little bit. The second Vulture seeming to police the other side of the map. They haven't noticed that they are cross spawns, and this is a 4-spawn map, as you can tell by the architecture. And yeah, instead of an unbuildable bridge, Shambler experimenting here with a totally buildable one for the choke point. Is an interesting choice. We'll see, you know, how that works out, if that even comes into play in this game. But the Nexus is already on the way for Hupsaiya, while there is a ministry under construction inside SmrtyCakes' base, but Hupsaiya won't be able to scout that out in advance. And I mean, partially because of all of the mines, but he would have to actually go up the ramp to make this happen. We got a very big infiltration mission going on here. I think Smarty thought, because of the Legionnaire policing over here, you know, doing a little bit of a patrol, that this is where the army is, but that's not at all where it is. And he stood on top of his own mines, so everything gets stunned up, at the very least on the way down. Hupsaiya will be held at an arm's length. I tell you, the lobotomy mines can be so devilish because you're like, oh, they don't do damage anymore. Isn't that wonderful? It turns out that actually standing on top of them as the player who owns them or is allied to the player who owns them is pretty bad. And, you know, something else that's not so good is SmrtyCakes' focus fire, but he is still going to be able to pop these units. The Hierophant will go down. There's another Drakodon where that came from. Well, I say the Hierophant will go down. Surely, there you go. A couple of them. Look how low. Hold on. Hupsaiya's focus fire was also leaving something to be desired. Looks like this heroic Drakodon was a couple shots away from saving itself and killing everything. Would have been an unlikely moment, but yeah, not exactly what we were expecting. Speaking of heroic units, if an Amaranth gets deployed, I think this is technically before I redid the voice lines for it, but I do have banter mode active for the Amaranth. And as long as it steals 100 shields or more in a given engagement, and, you know, eventually I'll update it so that it has to be at least above half health or something for this to happen, because otherwise it's a little bit anticlimactic, because it kind of shouts stuff. It shouts baller stuff like, you know, you cannot stop me, I am your reckoning, stuff like that. But, you know, it's cool. It's cool. You know, the rules may be too permissive at the moment for additional stuff going on there, but you know, as far as the banter rules go, but that's pretty cool. I like banter. I think it's a system that adds a lot of life to the game. If you have takes on banter, it's just when voice lines play, like when the Hierophant laughs, or, you know, says the fate of all fools when you lose your unit, and it brings it a very good incentive there. You know, get that ascension going. However, as of right now, SmrtyCakes down a couple of workers. Obviously, his ministry had to lift off and go somewhere else, but he's building a third one, and looks like that's how he's going to come back in the worker department. Starpad on the way, and a fourth fulcrum, but most of them are idle right now. He's got a scrapyard. He can try to churn out a ton of blackjacks. This is, of course, before all of our remodels as well. Good grief. I mean, the stuff on the latest patch, when you guys see games on those patches, you guys are going to see so many new models that Solstice did. And so many updates to existing models that Solstice did. And, you know, we're cooking one more thing that I really know is going to be epic when it's fully furnished and finished up. And I'm looking forward to that, that's for sure. I really think that we will blow people's minds when the next updated model kicks into gear. So just throwing that out there, just saying. I was actually working on a update to a map that has been broken for some time, and let's just say that map showed me the contrast because of one of the opening little cutscene things that I did. Shout out to DF. Happy birthday, DF, even though it's not your birthday right now. In fact, are there any birthdays coming up? I should probably check that. Hupsaiya capping his gas, adding grand libraries for those probably aforementioned Amaranths, but also Cantavis is a good move there. And he's putting it in the natural, which I know is going to turn Neblime's stomach, but it's okay. He's not watching anyway. Third base rather, coming up here for Hupsaiya. This is one of those maps that actually has gas at the third base, which I don't know. I'm not so sure about it, but I also think it's going to be difficult to leverage anything into a... This is an island base here at the cardinal right and left, right? So, and I don't think there's anything north and south by the looks of it. So, yeah, actually taking a fourth base is really hard here, so maybe that's got something to do with it. Mineral only 4 patch on the treasuries in the middle of the map. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily needs another base that's easy to take, but the fact that these are islands and not something you can actually path into is it's a choice. I don't know if it's a good one, but I suppose we'll find out. Oh yeah, the neutral cestus gives you that aura. That's pretty cool. People don't really use that too often. People don't really know about that, but yeah, just an interesting situation to be in that you think to yourself, how's this gonna work out? I guess I can shout out some birthdays here, early December birthdays. We got Balethal on the 8th, we got Biddy Bee on the 12th, we got Solstice on the 15th, and we got Chumbeka Hoop Thrower on the 18th. So there you go. Those are the known December birthdays that we have. Also, did you know that Ichabot, a player who hasn't been really active that much, but was more in the map crap scene a few years ago, him and the Beaver have the same birthday, the 11th of November. Missed it earlier, King, but... hope you're doing well, Beaver Man. All right, Third Ministry hasn't actually afforded SmrtyCakes too many extra Masons, I've noticed. And instead, we've got extra Fulcrums, and we're going to add the Palladium. His army isn't the largest thing you've ever seen, right? And so that's kind of interesting. Looks like an Antseal in production. We are going to see some Phalanx later on. 5 Scrapyard units, the Blackjack, of course, coming online, and 2 more Fulcrums as well. So clearly very mech-focused. We do have that new Herald on display, courtesy of Solstice. I bet he never thought Hupsaiya would be underneath his herald, but that's okay. That's something you can forget about. You can just... It's so easy to Photoshop that out, because all you do is just put some pure black color there, and it's fine. It's totally fine. Antseal scouting around for any satellite bases. Technically, I don't think Smarty even knows where Hupsaiya spawned yet. Like, he knows by now, probably, it's not in the bottom right, but... You know, he hasn't identified his domain yet, whereas obviously Hupsaiya is aware. Sort of setting up a pseudo-containment here. Probably assumes there's Phalanx, but we know that only now are we getting any at all. Third Ministry lifting off. Looks like it didn't really make that many Masons this entire time, and it looks like it's going to go ahead and float off towards the island at the 9 o'clock position, which is a cheeky play, but definitely a Terran-favored one. Makes a lot of sense. And it looks like we will get some self-stunning there. Not so many more lobotomy mines to try to slow this down. But obviously the storm is good to put a little bit of damage down range. We don't have any healing or sustain going on here. The Antseal providing a little bit of shielding, and that's about it. And as the Phalanxes come out, this push gets a lot harder. It's very narrow. You kind of need air units here to pop this, I think. Down goes the Antseal on the way back. Goodbye. And... Smarty is bringing his ministry back. I think that's a mistake. Unless he has some other reason he wants it. That's a humongous stun and storm hoisted by his own petard there. A lot of those units will be going down. And can Hupsaiya actually force himself through? He just lost a lot of his AoE there. He's got one more Cantavis in the spot. But yeah, that's... if that stun didn't happen, Hupsaiya probably doesn't commit to that fight as hard. And... then he probably loses less units. So actually, I guess the lobotomy line worked. It was a great lure this entire time. Herald's going down to concentrated phalanx fire. No surprises there. Shellacking, pounding it out, and it is going to be an Argosy on the way as the answer. So I guess air units. Oh, double Argosy around a Crucible. That's so beautiful. Every Protoss player salivating. I mean, this army doesn't really shoot up very well, right? He got Blackjacks and that's it. Sure, he can flex into Goliaths, but you can probably do something about that. Cantavis on the front line gets a great storm off and very far out of field. It's not being targeted down by the Phalanxes despite being in range. This allows the Heralds and the Zealots to crash upon the Phalanx line, but it should still allow Smarty to break out of his position. By the way, he has not landed that third Ministry or that fourth one. And he isn't really producing a lot of Masons at this point. In fact, no workers in production for him, for either player at the moment, but that's quite all right. We do have a lot idle down here in the bottom right here. Natural taken by Hupsaiya for his fourth base, while the Terran remains on 2, ready to take 4 at any time, but only now is Smarty having the wherewithal to do that. So definitely reduced the mech unit count quite a bit. We could have had a gateway explosion in the meanwhile, judging by the resources, and a Solarian is on the way. Get to see how the StarCraft 2 Grandmaster, probably, I think, the first high elo StarCraft 2 player to really check us out. Since then, we've had some of the pros play. We've had Indy, who's a commentator. We've had Trigger, and we've had Young Yakov, and of course, Han Mono plays regularly still. Mixu participated in a recent bi-weekly tournament, our weekend wage, so that was cool. A lot of cool players gaming in the StarCraft 2 space, and we're even grabbing some of the StarCraft 2 maps and porting them. Obviously, it takes a lot more effort to port them than it does a StarCraft 1 map. Different engine, and you have to kind of reconstruct it by hand. But it's still really cool. You know, I think Magnetron is something I ported, Tokamak, a ported Tokamak that I've done. I think Gilded Wall is super cool. That's Golden Wall by Jujic, ported by Jujic. And what else did we do? There's a few others that we've ported already that Jujic ported. Oneros is Everdream, and Tsunami is Oceanborn. So there you go. Those are other StarCraft 2 map ports that we've done. And those are still in the testing phase, but I think they're passing tests. Some of them, anyway. Cute little static defense setup down here in the bottom right natural, as the bottom right main has also been taken. We got a lot of extra pylons. Plays it like StarCraft 1, you can put down like 30 gateways here and then just rally out a ton of extra units. I like his pre-split in the middle as well, but he doesn't have any high ground control. That's a little opportunity there for Smarty. We do have a double Didact purchase coming up here. Very gas intensive there. Good saturation, I think, over here. Yeah, reasonable. And the Solarians, 3 strong, moving across the map along the top strip. Looks like that Ministry will finally find that island base. I feel like Smarty could have done that a lot sooner, but that's all right, I suppose. This little eastern flank here is going to get under fire, and Smarty still is maybe under the impression that the Protoss base is that direction, but he's not going to go ahead and go for the committal. And look at this. The Solarians find the Ministry in the top left. It doesn't go for the island after all. It's an even earlier warning system there for Sir Smarty. Now he knows, okay, well, it actually doesn't quite get to burning territory, so he can rebuild that over time if he wants to, but it looks like some Protoss army splitting across, not actually going up there just yet, and a Matador offers itself up. More and more scribes rallying down. A single Matador fights all the scribes in the world, plus a Zealot. The Zealot actually making a pretty big difference there. And Solarians are arriving down here in the natural. This is exactly what every Terran fears the most, but is it going to be enough? I mean, those Watchdogs are staying alive, and now the Blackjacks have arrived. Oh, Hupsaiya busy focusing on the ground army, stasising all of the Phalanxes for some time. Takes about 8 seconds for stasis to wear off, but you can cast it a little bit more liberally as a result. And look at those Zealots. That's all they needed, is that one little correction, that one lockup for just a moment so that they could get on the rest of the army. And now it resumes. Smarty returning after dismissing those Solarians. It looks like one of them did die, but the other 2 are in very good condition, replenishing their steward stock as they wait their orders to return to attack move. It looks like they will go after the Watchdog. Got some Blackjacks here to try to range down the stewards. But during this time, Smarty is not under any pressure in the middle of the map on the ground. By the way, this Ministry is still burning but not making anything, so not the most useful there. And it looks like the stewards are still being shot down by the Blackjacks, so they're going to return home. And we're going to see what more the Solarians have in store for us. Goliaths are coming out now. Again, that's basically what Smarty can do. And Hupsaiya is charging up his next attack, it looks like. Got another Solarian, 2, in fact, pointing over there. He's got so much money in the bank. But why would you have Why would you spend your money when you can micro your epic ships, dude? That's what Protoss is all about, I feel like. No sense of iron, no hint of irony there in my statement. Top left main being taken now. Yeah, when Protoss gets both mains, you know it's pretty much over. And now look at this. This is where the Didact's wound up, recalling, opening up a warped rift there. And it looks like he's, the Didact will narrowly avoid getting shot down. He needs to kind of task his units into the warp hole there, but then it's good to go. And, you know, it takes a little bit more extra time. Maybe it could passively order units into it as a quality of life fix, but that would be potentially too much automation. You know, you might bop yourself a little bit. This recall should seal the deal, however. And, you know, the Fulcrum's lifting off to provide more space for the mech army to come back in. We don't actually have an army to attack at the front, though. So that is maybe a little bit of a misfire there. You can see that this recall is still going, so the rally point heading in that direction. More reinforcements porting in over time, and that will wrap it up in this position. Look at all these phalanxes and blackjacks, though. I guess they can try to get a stasis off. It does work out in one sense, but the Didact then dies. Needs to charge up for another one, but look at all the blackjacks ranging it down immediately. The Watchdog, oh! The Watchdog doesn't kill it! It actually gets aggroed onto the Magister instead, and so the stasis still comes off. But at the same time, we got the Remax coming in to try to heckle that third base. This one's been shut down, and it's depleted. Top left has been taken out by reinforcements, and I just can't imagine the Solarians being easily excised at this point either. Looks like Smarty is in a world of pain, and some of his production has been shut down, so he can't spend all of his money. Really, he needed to be scaling his production, not dropping more of it. You can see the Blackjacks going after the Stewards instead of the Solarians is a smart move, but the Ministry might end up burning down all the same. Only 50 points of health. The other one lifts off. No Masons in the area. Now Zealots are providing a little bit of splash damage to those Blackjacks and almost killing a ton of workers that transferred over. So we'll keep that Ministry selected to see if it burns down while we check in on everything else that Hupsaiya has been doing. Or in this case, I guess he was a little bit idle. Grand Library. No. Ancestral Archives on the way. Oh, he's lifted it. He's going to repair it just in the nick of time. We saw it, but that's an Ancestral Archives coming. So Optecton soon to be upon him, apparently. The Solarian's not quite enough to get Smarty to type GG. But, I mean, he's mining off of one base now for quite a while. I guess he has a bank, but it's nothing compared to Hupsaiya's, who has taken the top left main and taken a number of other places here and there, so only a few mines to slow, taking the bottom right third if that's something Hupsaiya wants. He can take the natural and third in the top left, and then he can go after the islands and probably take the Smarty third, to be honest with you. Obviously the Phalanxes can deal with it, but they're not super helpful versus the Solarians, which are now at 6 strong, by the way. He didn't finish repairing it past the point of burning, but that's okay. Adding another Fulcrum and an Atlas, trying to see how much he can do. He actually landed this one outside of the main base. Interesting. A lot of workers rallying over. Hupsaiya having 140 workers and counting. But not the biggest military. However, quality of the army is quite good. I do like those games where you do see bigger armies than your worker count, but at the same time, big worker count means, you know, remaxing your army very quickly, having a lot of different units, and all of that stuff. As the Zealots fall in the presence of a Herald, their corpse will be avenged. So that allows everything to speed up quite nicely. You can see Smarty not really controlling his army super well here, allowing them to get dragged in. This is not an inconsequential number of phalanxes to end up chipping away at and losing. This is very scary indeed. As the engagement continues to loom, the Solarian count has grown to an incomprehensible 6, and I think that's just going to be way too much for SmrtyCakes to deal with. His Atlas will finish up at the tail end of the game, but Zealots are crashing in. Yeah, the ground army might end up getting wiped. We didn't get too much actual crowd control, but even then, the Zealots are staying alive a lot longer than you would think. The Amaranth swiping away, a few of them, in fact. And look at that, the Vengeance and the Ascension speeding up movement and attack. This army is a little bit too big for Smarty to deal with. 11 Blackjacks a pop, and it's not going to be enough to spend down his bank, especially in the gas department. Magister's coming out for Hupsaiya as well to extend the weapon ranges, and he just chewed through him. It was a churn, it was a grind. Weed Whacker. I mean, these Heralds must have shielded so much life over time. Same for those Amaranths. GG, this map is awful. He means awe-inspiring. SmrtyCakes drops in and throws some Shambler shade. You know, that has everything you want in a Cosmonarchy cast if you think about it. You got the return of a player who was pretty good at the time, you know, top player, Sovereign class player back in the day, back when we only had like 6 players that fit that bill, or 8 players or whatever it was. You got Americans fighting Americans. That should have been my Thanksgiving Day cast, but Thanksgiving fell on a TikTok day, so that didn't happen. But on top of it all, on top of everything there, you also had some Shambler shade. GG boys, we'll be back soon for more Cosmonarchy. Check out our merch store, store.cosmonarchy.com. Check out streamlabs.com/pronogo to start funding the next show match and funding our tournaments and stuff. And that is where I will leave you. Peace.